Wild Zone 20 is the final Wild Zone unlocked in Pokemon Legends ZA after you complete the main story, and it is the spot to shiny hunt starter Pokemon and a ton of shiny Alpha Pokemon. I'll be showing you all the tips, tricks, and methods you need to know to master shiny hunting in Wild Zone 20. So lock in by hitting that subscribe button and hitting that notification bell, and if you want to further support the channel and enjoy these guides, consider becoming a member. Now let's get you some shiny Pokemon. The Pokemon that we'll be hunting in this zone are Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Tepig, Totodile, Chikorita, Malamar, Dragalge, Roserade, Gardevoir, Aggron, Scrafty, Garbodor, Hippowdon, and Lucario. Now let's talk about the fixed Alpha Pokemon. There are 2 fixed Alpha Pokemon at all times in the center of the zone that change randomly to different Alpha spawns depending on when you reload back into the zone. There are actually 67 Pokemon in total that can be shiny hunted that are Alphas. There's a huge list of it and I will list it on screen, so feel free to pause the video and take a screenshot. In order to get other Pokemon to randomly become Alphas in the zone, make sure that you complete Mabel's request for catching all the Pokemon within Wild Zone 20. For full shiny dex completionist, you're gonna need 3 Charmander, 1 to evolve to Charmeleon at level 16, and 1 to evolve to Charizard at level 36, and it has a Mega X and a Mega Y evolution. 3 Squirtle, 1 to evolve into War Turtle at level 16, and 1 to evolve into Blastoise at 36, which also has a Mega evolution. You need 4 Bulbasaur, 1 to evolve at Ivysaur at level 16, and 1 to evolve into Male Venusaur and Female Venusaur, and it also has a Mega evolution. You'll need 3 Tepig, 1 to evolve to Pignite at level 17, and 1 to evolve into Emboar at 36, which also has Mega evolution. 3 Totodile, 1 to evolve to Crocodile at level 18, and 1 to evolve into Feraligatr at level 30, and guess what? Mega evolution. You'll need 4 Chikorita, 1 that evolves into Bayleaf at level 16, and you'll need a male and female Meganium at level 32, as the male has longer antenna, if you care about those differences in your Pokedex. You'll need 2 Roserade, 1 male and female, and the female has a longer cape. You'll need 2 Hippowdons, the male is the light brown, while the female is a grayish black. Do not confuse this for a shiny Pokemon. And everything else in the zone, you'll just need 1 of since they are in their final evolution. The base shiny odds are 1 out of 4,096, while shiny odds with the shiny charm are 1 out of 1,024.38. The methods that we'll be using in this video are the bench method, the respawn and reset method, run and reset, and the run and despawn method. Alright, we are here at Wild Zone 20. We're fast traveling here. We're locked in. I got my Team MZ jacket. Look at that. Ooh, we are so ready for Wild Zone 20. Don't skip this part, okay? This is going to be an overview exactly how to understand how this zone works, because it's very confusing at first when you come to Wild Zone 20 and you might not know exactly what to do. So we're gonna get a breakdown. Now, we're gonna start right from this point. So I'm dropping a pin and we're gonna circle around the zone so you understand the spawning mechanics of every single Pokemon. All right, so we're walking in to the zone like this. And in front of me, you can see a Squirtle. Now, the first spawn that you see in front of you, aka this Squirtle right over here, is actually going to have a 15% chance of being a Squirtle, a 15% chance of being a Totodile, a 15% chance of being a Dragalge, a 15% chance of being a Malamar, a 20% chance of being Roserade, and a 20% chance of being Gardevoir. Now, if we turn left, you're going to see that there is a Malamar in this section here. Now, this is another spawn in the game, but here's how this one works. This is going to have a 15% chance of being a Squirtle, a 15% chance of being a Totodile, a 35% chance of being a Dragalge, and a 35% chance of being a Malamar. And if we continue going down further, we're going to find another spawn here. Now, this spawn in the water is only going to either be a 50% chance of being a Dragalge or a 50% chance of being a Malamar. So we're never looking at this spawn if you care about starter Pokemon. Now, if we continue going further out just like this, past these docks, we're going to run into another section of the game where it's going to look like rocks and sand and a little bit drier. And this spot is going to be where we are going to be hunting down our fire starters. Now, there are going to be 2 specific spawns in this area. Right over here is spawn number 1, and right down there is going to be spawn number 2. So let me explain how these 2 specific spawns work in this part of the zone. You're going to have a 15% chance of either of these spawns being a Charmander, a 15% chance of either of these spawns being a Tepig, a 35% chance of either of these spawns being a Hippowdon, and a 35% chance of these spawns being a Lucario. As you can see right here, as we walked to this area, we rolled the 15% chance of this spawn being the Charmander and the 35% chance of getting that Lucario, which means the most common Pokemon you're probably going to get shiny are Lucario and Hippowdon in this section. So now we're going to continue going clockwise to this section right over here of the map, which is going to have just a bunch of stone piles here, boxes, etc. And as you can see, we have 2 Scrafties on our screen here, which is perfect because this is how we're going to explain these specific spawns in this section. So for this specific section, you're going to have a 30% chance of having an Aggron spawn, a 35% chance of a Scrafty spawning, and a 35% chance of Garbodor spawning. So you pretty much can see any of these 3 become shinies within this area. And of course, you see an alpha one here, and every Pokemon has a 5% chance of also spawning as an alpha. So there we go. That's pretty much this section of Wild Zone 20. Now let's move on to the next breakdown of this area, which is actually the final area that we're going to break down, which is going to be around the 12 o'clock position and this area here on your map. And there's going to be 2 spawns specifically we're going to be talking about. This one over here, so you see this Chikorita. And if you go a little further down, oh, there we go. We have Bulbasaur that spawned here too. Okay, so these 2 specific spawns that we're going to be talking about for the grass area. Now, both of these grass starter spawns are going to have a 15% chance of being a Bulbasaur, a 15% chance of being a Chikorita, a 35% chance of being a Roserade, and a 35% chance of being a Gardevoir. So in summary, all the starters mentioned get 2 spawns in the game with a chance of spawning at 15%. Alright, now that you know exactly how to hunt in the zone, I want to get out the weakest way of hunting, in my opinion, for the zone, which is the fast travel method. And some of you may want to do this over and over again, but basically we fast travel to the zone and we're going to drop a pin down here, and you're going to be able to get certain Pokemon spawns if they happen to be within your 50 meters to spawn in the game and cycle. So there's our spot. And as you can see, if we go ahead to the Squirtle, does Squirtle fall within 50 meters? Yeah, he does. This starter can actually become a shiny Pokemon. So you get 1 water spawn. Now we have a water Pokemon that spawns over here. And as you can see, yep, this also falls within 50 meters. So you can get both water Pokemon to spawn in exactly by doing the fast travel method. As opposed to anything else, you will not be able to get those Pokemon going there. So that's pretty much fast travel method is going to be great if you want to just reset for 2 water starters. Now that we got the fast travel method out the way, let's talk about my favorite one, which is the run and reset. Now, run and reset is simple. You just walk in the zone. You're going to eyeball all the Pokemon on the left, just like this. See all the Pokemon on the right, just like that. And then you're going to just, get out of there, reset, right? That's just really simple for this part. This is the run and reset for the entry part of Wild Zone 20. Now, when we walk in, here's what we can expect, right? We're playing with 1 water starter here, 1 water starter on the left. So there's the Totodile, because you guys all know the percentages. You also can have that Pokemon all the way down over there be a shiny, but it's only going to be Dragalge and Malamar, as we discussed earlier. And if you look to your right, you're going to be able to see a grass spawn over here. This could be either a Bulbasaur or a Chikorita as well. So when you do the run and reset, you're going to walk into 1, 2, 3, 4 spawns, 2 water starters, 1 grass starter, and 1 basically the boring one, Malamar and Dragalge. And you're just going to repeat this over and over again until you walk into your shiny. So run and reset, pretty simple for this part of the zone until you get your shiny Pokemon. Now, I do want to point out, you guys did see me do the double home trick. In order to do the zoom in method, what you want to do is press your home button, go all the way down to your system settings just like this, and then we're going to go to accessibility and go down to zoom and just toggle that. That way you can do this fun little trick we do in all of our videos, which is the double home zoom in method. So you can see if the other Pokemon in the back there is a shiny, or if something spawns down there, we can see if it also is a shiny Pokemon. So you know that. See, look at that. That could be a Chikorita hiding there. You wouldn't even know. Now, there is another point where we can do the run and reset method, and that's going to be by fast traveling to the Centrico Plaza. Now, this one is one of my favorite ones to do because you can get yourselves a shiny Charmander, a shiny Tepig here, and if you care about a shiny Lucario, you can, but, they're the most common ones. So, essentially, what you want to do as soon as you get the fast travel to Zone 20 is you're going to walk in, right? So, let me just show you exactly how we do this. As we walk in, we're going to see the spawn here. That could be your fire starter. And we're going to look over there, find the second one, and there we go. There's a little Tepig sitting there. So you get to see your both fire starters, right? But also, if you look on your right, oh my god, that is an Alpha Totodile. If you look on the right, you get to see the water spawns over here. So you can see a water starter Pokemon over there, as well as, the one that stays as Dragalge or Malamar. But if you run up to the rock here, we get to see the Alpha Pokemon straight over there. So what you want to do is keep it a habit of how to spot these Pokemon. So you're going to open up your map, go to Centrico Plaza. So that's the reset. I just want to show you how to initially walk in there, right? We'll do it real quick. I'm going to spot my fire starters. There's a Lucario. What's the other spawn over here? There's my Charmander. And then I'm going to look at the water starters on the right side. Okay, nothing. See what I got straight ahead of me with the alphas. Okay, nothing. And I'm going to walk out. Or if the Pokemon don't spot me, you can quickly just fast travel out. But yeah, it's a little bit of a rotation, but you're getting a couple of good spawns. You're checking 1 water starter spawn, 2 fire starter spawns, and you get to check in on the alpha Pokemon. Just don't forget to quickly go back and reset the fast travel point. That way the Pokemon recycle. Look at that. Charmander right in front of the zone. It's not always going to be in the zone, by the way, but you will get it to show up sometimes. There's the other Pokemon. Great. Alakazam. That. Look at the right side. Good. And we are done. And then you can just get out like that. So I hope the run and reset methods are really obvious for these 2 specific points. That way you can get yourself those starters. Now, the next shiny hunting method is going to be the bench method. And for everyone who's watching, we'll go over this real quick. When you approach a bench in the game, right, this is an auto AFK method that tons of people can do. So when you go to a bench just like this, you're going to press A, and then you're going to just kill some time here by facing the bench. So if you are using a regular Nintendo Switch controller or your Joy-Con, you're going to place the controller just like this, hold it down so the D-pad is facing down, and then you're just going to spam A. This will cause you to just go through the day and night cycle over and over and over again. Now, if you have a macro controller like the 8BitDo controller I have over here, you could do directional inputs as well as pressing buttons in the macro software, and I'm just going to bring that up on the screen so you can see exactly which one I do. This is my bench reset. It's really simple. I just hold it down, I spam A, and then I set it up as a repeated macro, and then we just let it run over and over again. So when I initiate this on my controller, I'm just going to press this, and my character is just automatically going to do bench resetting. And for everyone to know what exactly is happening, like it's literally doing it right now, bench resetting is just going to cycle your Pokemon within the area, and you're going to see the ones that are within 50 meters of you. So this is pretty much a really simple tactic for leaving this on overnight without you having to actively press it. We talk about it in all our different videos, and we also have a Discord chat created so other people can share macros that they do come up with. So I'll give you some ideas of what macros we can create in this video too. But bench is what I use for everything. I was like, you know, bench is the most popular macro everyone's going to use. Now that we got all the automation part, let's talk about each of the benches and what they're specifically good for. So when you walk into Wild Zone 20, you're going to have your first bench over here. We'll call this bench number 1 at this location. Now, what's good about this bench is that you're going to be resetting for 2 water starter Pokemon. You're going to have this Totodile over here, or it could be Squirtle, as well as the starter over here. But if it's a Gardevoir and it runs away, you're going to have to wait 2.5 minutes. But we'll get into that one later. But that is another spawn too that you are cycling through the daytime. And you'll be able to see this annoying Pokemon there as well. If we get to the right side, you get to see this Pokemon. And how do we know this bench method works for this? For a grass starter, 2 water starters, and the garbage Malamar and Dragalge spawn. Well, let's do a bench reset, wait for the day to come, and see exactly what we see in front of us as soon as we do it, because that's simulating exactly what a bench does. So here it is. It is now the daytime. The time has shifted completely, and we're going to see what shows up. So we got the Roserade. Dragalge chose to spawn there, and do we see the right side spawn? We do. So that could be a grass starter, 2 water starters, as well as 1 Dragalge Malamar, and we get eyes on 1 alpha Pokemon in front of us. So that's what you're going to get from this bench. Now, there are actually cons to doing the bench method for this zone, and it's exactly because the Pokemon change their spawns. And the problem is, if you leave it on overnight and it just runs and runs and runs, I actually have an example. I woke up to a bunch of Dragalge that were shiny, and they're not rotating because the game saves them as a shiny. So the bench method could have a con depending on what Pokemon shows up. So just remember that when you're doing the bench method, and that's the reason I personally am not a big fan of bench method, because I'm really relying on super RNG overnight, but it's passive, and I get it could work for you. All right, so now you know exactly what spawns at bench 1. Let's move over to bench number 2. By the way, we're rotating this way now. Bench number 2. Let's take a seat at bench number 2 and see exactly what we're going to get in this area. So bench number 2 is going to be used for your grass starter Pokemon. As you can see on the right, that Pokemon respawns over here, which could be Chikorita or Bulbasaur as well. And this Pokemon spawns in here on the left, which could be Chikorita or your Bulbasaur starter shiny. Of course, it's still going to cycle through the Roserade and Gardevoir, which sucks, but that's okay. You know, you can get those shiny if you want as well, if that's on your hunting list. But that's exactly what you're going to see at this part of the bench. So if you want a shiny grass starter, you can AFK bench reset specifically in this location. I'm going to open up the map again. You can see exactly where I am. We are right over here. Let's move on to the next bench, which is going to be to the right of this. We'll do one bench reset here, so you all can see exactly how this would work. So you want to go to the furthest part of the bench here, and we are now at the 12 o'clock position, right? We're just like at the top of this, facing down. And this is the final of the benches within the zone. So I'm going to kill some time here, and we're going to see exactly what we get as spawns while doing this. All right, the time has passed, and as you can see, there is a Chikorita in front of us right now, right? So we get one grass spawn over here. We get to see the second grass spawn right over there. So 2 grass spawns. You have a chance of 2 grass starters. I call them grass spawns, but I mean grass starters. You also get to see, I call this the junkyard. This is the rubbish area where you can have a chance at a shiny Scrafty, a shiny Aggron, and a shiny Garbodor. I've gotten so many Garbodors and other Pokemon from this bench over here. And then if you get up from your bench, you actually have a chance of having an Alpha Pokemon spawn in over there, which is kind of crazy. So you have the alpha resets happening at the same time in the middle of your map, right? And if we do another reset here, this is basically where you're going to be AFKing for grass starters, your alpha Pokemon, and 1 junk Pokemon behind you to cover all of that. So we had Kangaskhan and Electros. Let's see what we get right now. Okay, we have Phalanx. What else we got? And a Talonflame. And here's our Roserade. There's a Garbodor behind us, and then we should see 1 more grass spawn right over there. There it is. That is probably going to be a little bit more efficient if you want more Pokemon to spawn, but the one before this as a bench method, do that if you just want the grass starters. Now, the next method we'll be talking about is the run and despawn. So essentially, when you enter the zone, the goal is to basically despawn out every single Pokemon you see. And in order to pull that off, we're just going to run on the borders of this entire place, just like this. So I don't want that Gardevoir. Gardevoir might see me and run, maybe. Nope, she didn't see me. And what we're doing is we're basically going to just run laps around this entire area and just despawn anything we see. So all the spawns will be shuffled. So by the time we come back around again, we'll see probably something else. And by being on the border, you're going to be able to spawn pretty much all the Pokemon here within 50 meters, and you're doing pretty much all of them. And while you're doing this, the run and despawn method, you could also probably check in on like what alpha Pokemon are spawning. If you decide to find a clear pathway there, we could always like peek in like, hey, I'm curious what's over here. You could run around the circle edge, or you could just quickly peek in, see what's happening here. Now, this could probably be macroed if someone wants to come up with one. I haven't made a macro specifically for this, but if you just keep your joystick going like this, straight, and then you keep having the right joystick, just every maybe like 10 seconds, just quickly turn in like that, like double tap that 3 times. And yeah, that's pretty much exactly what the despawn method is. Now, another run and despawn method that you could do is simply by going across the entire, if you are trying to do a macro for auto running, there is a possibility that the day and night cycle might mess it up if it's left on overnight. However, we have a giant community of people helping out, putting together a bunch of macros in our Discord. So check it out in the description below. There is an entire chat of people dedicated to macros, and if you need help, they will be able to help you. So join the Discord. The community has made even better macros than I'm putting out. Map, since it does have a range, so if you want to do this, we can just go see what alphas are over here. There's a Dragonite and a Heracross, and I could just cut around this side here. So you're kind of like cutting on the edges of the tower, and then I go far enough where I can despawn them, just like that. And then I will circle back around, but I should be getting a new spawn, I believe, on that. There we go. There's Electros, and I'm going to circle around. So pretty much what you're doing is you're despawning the middle, and you're also despawning some of the Pokemon on the opposite side. So if there's a Charmander on the other side, you probably would be able to get one. The best way is like as far back as you could go, and then wrap around, and then go in and around. So just keep creating methods for yourself. Like that was an Absol, Aegislash, and you want to just make up, you can make this up. This is how it works in shiny hunting. You just kind of figure out a pathway you like and you do it. So surprisingly, by doing that little method I just showed you on the screen of going around, I was able to find 3 shiny Aggron, 1 shiny Alpha Victory Bell, and 1 shiny Alpha Dragalge, which was pretty good, Dragalge. All right, now let's talk about a really fun method called the respawn and reset method that we used in Wild Zone 18 with Fennekin, and that we use in Wild Zone 19 with Drampa. But in Wild Zone 20, it's not going to function exactly the same way when it comes to that. So you all know the spawns for every single Pokemon here. And if you KO a Pokemon, they will respawn after a certain amount of time. Specifically, in Wild Zone 20, the Pokemon are going to take 2 minutes and 30 seconds in order to respawn. How do you decide what Pokemon to cycle through and which ones you want to despawn and try this method on? Well, this Squirtle is probably not going to be the one you want to do it on. Why? Well, because we have 6 spawns for this Squirtle. We have to go through Roserade, Gardevoir, Dragalge, Malamar, and then you have Totodile and Squirtle. So if I wanted Squirtle specifically, I'm cycling through so many other Pokemon. Meanwhile, if I go for this specific Dragalge, I can only get 4 Pokemon spawns here. So if I wanted to take it out, and we're going to do a Fire Blast, I'm going to wait for it to disappear. So we're just waiting 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the next spawn to show up. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Save. Okay, I'm saving 2 seconds before. Okay, and before it appears, here we go. 2 seconds, it should show up. There it is. And then we got the spawn as Totodile. Now, if I decide to close up my game just like this, and then I'm going to open it up, right? I'm either going to see the Totodile, the Squirtle, the Dragalge, or the Malamar. This is going to be the specific water starter that I am going for because I have way more chances of having it be a Squirtle or Totodile than the other one. So here we go. Wait for it to spawn, and boom. Oh, we got Totodile again. Okay, so this is a level 55 male. One more time. All right, let's see. What do we get? What do we get? There's no way we don't get a Totodile again, do we? And then, here we go. There's Dragalge. So you can kind of cycle through your spawns doing that method if you want. It's basically like targeting exactly what you need, except for the fact that they roll through their spawns. Now, if you really want to go crazy, you can target that Squirtle at the exact same time that you target that, nuke them with the AoE attack like Earthquake or something like that, and then you can wait for both of them to respawn at the same time and cycle through both of them using this method. Speaking about that, the hardest Pokemon in this zone, honestly, to get are going to be your fire starter Pokemon, because we talked about the method you have to do, which is initially going to the Centrico Plaza and then walking in. However, you can also do the same exact knockout method on the Pokemon here. So Hippowdon, Lucario, you'd kind of just group them up together, and then you do the reset method here in order to grab and get yourself a shiny Charmander. In fact, that's how I actually got myself a shiny Charmander in this game, which is pretty nice. So just bait them and fight them together. And that is pretty much how you're going to do your respawn and reset. And you can choose to do that on any of the Pokemon and use the information at the beginning of the video to identify which spawns you want to specifically get, which is going to help you get exactly what you need. Nah, ain't no way that just happened. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Ain't no way Alpha Shiny Tepig just happened. Yo, what? Ain't no way. Oh, look how sick it is. No way. You got it? Oh my gosh. The respawn reset method actually worked. This is crazy, dude. Now, let's talk about the alpha Pokemon in the middle specifically, right? We talked about a few methods for the alpha Pokemon in the center. The first one is sleep at the bench, right? That is at the 12 o'clock position, and that'll refresh your alpha Pokemon in your game. Pretty much like you just do a bench reset and you get your alpha Pokemon to spawn, right? So there we have a Leafeon and Jolteon. Pretty cool. But what's another way that we can, you know, despawn them out? Well, we could just pretty much leave the zone, which is a respawn despawn method for your alpha Pokemon. However, what I wanted to talk about specifically was what we focused on, which was the despawn and reset method. So we have ourselves a Guja right over there. I'm going to show you that it's going to take us 5 minutes to get a respawn on an alpha Pokemon. Now, essentially, just like I mentioned before, you can just knock out both Pokemon at once and you should be good to go. So let's go ahead. Let's see if I can knock them both out. That'd be cool if we get like one close to each other. Actually, maybe you don't want to do it at the exact same time. Maybe if you delay by one, you can see what both Pokemon will spawn as. And that might be a better play here. Okay, Gumi's still alive. Gumi's still alive. Hold on. Oh. And then we go for the Medicham. Okay, both knocked out. Really close. Okay, so we both knocked them out. Let's see. So we're going to wait 5 minutes now. I'm going to save my game pretty close. And now we can actually cycle through alpha Pokemon using the respawn and reset method, which is very exciting. Very exciting stuff here. There it is. So we got an Ariados, and the next one's going to spawn Garbodor. I don't like any of those. So what you're going to do is you're just going to close your game right after that closest save point to the 5-minute mark. Open up your game, and we're just going to see whatever alphas the game wants to throw at us over and over again. In fact, I'm probably just going to do this hunting right after the video. I think I kind of like this. This is like an alpha hunt. This is chill. What are we going to get? What are we going to get? We got a Garchomp and Starmie. So you see how like it's like very smooth at this point, just to keep reloading your game over and over again. It's like opening up Pokemon cards every time you come through your game. So this is alpha Pokemon respawn reset method. Now that you know how to do everything in Wild Zone 20, you should check out the playlist right over here, which will show you how to get every single shiny Pokemon in every Wild Zone. You should click on it and save this playlist. Very important.